G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video and welcome back to the continuation of the 2022 Nations Cup. Stage 2 of course of the GT World Series in Gran Turismo 7. And we're back in this combination. You might remember previously we've done a Super Formula race here at Spa, but I believe that was round 1 of the Toyota Cup if I'm recalling correctly. This is the Nations Cup this time. And there's basically one key difference. Do you remember the overtake glitch from last time? Yes, well, that's been solved. So we actually have to be careful and considered with our overtake usage here today. But what hasn't changed is the sheer peril that is turn number 10 and 11, Puon. Yes, you can still spin out there and find yourself swiftly in the barrier at about 200 kilometers an hour. Not ideal, needless to say. But of course, for this particular race here today, this qualifying session, we're going to use our tactic of cancelling back to the pits and jumping back out to give us some nice clear track position. No point getting sort of held up in all the battling and fighting that happens in the main pack for the qualifying lap because you're not getting any slipstream advantage. In fact, these Super Formula cars anyway, clear air is king because of all the aero wash that happens. That doesn't happen in the qualifying session, but it just highlights either way that by doing this particular tactic that I do, I don't come to any real disadvantage. But let's get through this qualifying lap. This is going to be my first flying lap, and this is actually the fastest one I was able to do. I was not able to get any faster than this first qualifying lap here today, so a little bit disappointing, but we'll see how the lap goes anyway. Turn 1 wasn't too bad, maybe a little bit wide, but it's all good. Obviously, Eau Rouge Radeon easily flat out in this car with all its downforce. Coming into Lecombe chicane, braking just before the 50-meter board. We're on the racing soft tyres, so plenty of grip available here today, and then we can get through here. This right-hander, you can actually take it flat if you get the line through Lecombe correct, and then braking down the hill towards the hairpin. Try and keep it to the inside. We do run a little bit wide in the mid part of the corner, but it's not too bad because we can kind of keep the average speed up. Just a graze of the brakes as you head through Jackie X, heading down into the ever dangerous Puon, turning in. Keep that throttle pinned. Don't turn in too much, otherwise you'll oversteer. Don't turn in enough, you'll understeer. And then heading into Le Fagner chicane, brake just before the white line across the track. Try and keep it over to the right and then back to the left to open up this corner here. Probably a little bit of understeer there. You heard the tyres erupt in a bout of tyre squeal, but it's okay. And then Stavilo is flat out onto the back straight. Up towards Blanchimont, of course, which in this car is easy flat out. So you kind of lose a lot of the high-speed perilous corners in this car because it's just so easy flat. But Puon is really the big challenge of the lap. If you can get through Puon, you can basically do the rest of it. And some of this low-speed stuff when all the downforce comes off the car can be quite tricky as well. Getting on the power can be quite dangerous because it's so easy to spin out. But we set ourselves a 150.1. I probably would have liked a 49 there and cement us a little bit higher up the grid there. Provisionally 6th, not too bad. Best of the rest so far, so it could be worse. But let's see where that puts us on the official grid after the Nations Cup introduction. Lovely, as always, we meet ourselves on the grid here at Spa, so we've got to get through this turn 1 appropriately. As for us, we managed to put it in 7th, not too bad actually. Pretty much everyone I expected to qualify behind, I ended up qualifying behind, and pretty much everyone I expected to qualify ahead of, I qualified ahead of. So I guess that could have been a lot worse. But let's head into turn 1. Really, really dangerous on this opening lap. You never know who's going to go for moves behind. I believe we did get a little bit of a bump from behind us by somebody, but it was nothing too bad. We actually get through there okay. And as we race up towards Eau Rouge and Radeon at the opening of this race here, there's one thing to note. We're actually on the racing medium tyres now, so we qualified on the soft and we've changed over to the mediums for the start of this race. And we'll talk about that race strategy in a second, but we have to be really careful heading through this Lecombe chicane. Quite significant detriment in grip on this particular occasion here, because not only have we got this harder tyre compound, as Atom sends it down the middle of Emery and Dylan Lindgren, Dylan comes back and just bumps Emily off the track, and I managed to gain a position out of that. Jonathan looking down the inside. Actually, we'll get back to the tyre chat in a second. The gap just opens up on the inside of the hairpin. It gives me the outside for the exit, but the inside for the following left-hander. I've got to make sure I give Jono some room on the exit there. I'll give him the curb. It's not too bad. Bit of overtake out of that corner, and I just get back up into 6th position. Heading through Pouon, Dylan turns in a bit late. He understeers off the track. We managed to gain another position. That's up 2 spots into 5th. But yes, one thing I was going to talk about before is that not only are we on a step harder compound of tyre, we've also got all the dirty air to contend with, which we didn't have in the qualifying session. So you have to be really, really careful at the opening of the race, and I just cannot state it enough just how careful you have to be, because you are going to have less grip than you think you will. Oh, okay, it's all good. Up 2 spots. Not a bad start to this race, actually. Up 2 spots. So, you know, in the grand scheme of how the opening of a Spa race can go with the perilous turn 1. I think that's the 3rd time I've said perilous in this video. Drinking game for perilous. The dangerous turn 1, your race can so easily go straight down the toilet. But as we fast forward up towards Lecombe, this time we can see that Atom 1.2 seconds. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness. I just copied myself. That was a moment. That's the medium tyre coming into play now, so not enough grip, or compared to how I was driving in the qualifying session, not enough grip. But anyway, in terms of this race today, it looks like we're going to get overtaken by Dylan on this rendition of the Kemmel Straight. But in terms of the race today and the strategy, it's actually a one-stop race. The medium and the soft tyres, both available. I don't remember which ones were required or which ones were mandatory, or if there was a mandatory stop, but we pitted for some reason. I don't think the softs could last all the way to the end, so maybe we pitted. I think there's probably the medium and the soft tyres, they're probably both mandatory. Otherwise, if we were stopping, we'd just go on to another set of softs. So that'd be the strategy today. That's Dylan Lindgren up ahead. We've decided to go for this medium tyre stint at the start of the race, and Atom has done the same thing, but he decides to pit in on the end of lap 3. So the soft tyres can kind of last like 12, 13 laps kind of thing, but I didn't really want to push it too much. I'm going to do a 4th lap on this medium tyre. I'm going to let Atom just take that pit stop and hope that he sort of comes to a little bit of a disadvantage at the back end of the race when he's got to do that extra lap later. I obviously don't hope that that happens to him, but in terms of race strategy, that's generally what you can do as we begin to push this, because this is going to be our in lap 2. A nice little kick of oversteer as we headed on the exit of the hairpin. Trying to push on this in lap here to make sure we don't lose a position to Jono Stan that was only 1.5 seconds behind us. We trundle into the pit lane, select that soft tyre compound, no fuel to worry about. We've got 30 laps of fuel. Oh, it's such a tough race. Such a tough race. This car is so on edge. So we've had a couple of big moments there on that medium tyre stint. We've got to try and clean that up and not fall victim to an accident driving my Haas-liveried Super Formula Toyota. But we come out of the pits, we're on the soft tyre, so we're going to have that confidence back this time. Couple of gaps, couple of air gaps to speak of. Emery 4.7 behind, so maybe over the course of the race she can catch that gap up. And, Cyclone Dan's crash, that gap to greatness on the exit of the pits as we run a bit wide out of Pouon. It was about 2 seconds to greatness. We managed to catch that gap up pretty much all the way to the back of him, but then he decides to pit at the end of the lap, so that went quite well. A few more people doing one extra lap than me on the medium tyres, pitting in at the end of lap 5. I pitted in at the end of lap 4. Atom pitted in at the end of lap 3, but we'll see if there's any positions to be gained through this pit stop phase. There's Jono stand behind, so remember he was about 1.5 seconds as we headed into the pit lane. That gap to Jono is now 2.2, and he's got to exit that pit exit and lose a bit of speed down this straight, so that gap's going to open up a little bit, but it's just equalised 2.2. Oh. Jeez, okay. And we gain another spot because Andrew leaves the lobby. That's distinct Andrew. I wanted to have a look at the replay, and I'll show you what this was, because it actually wasn't a rage quit. There was a bit of lag there, and that begins to tell the story. Like, what is this? He's just lost a position to Psydog, who was a few seconds behind him, and he had a couple of lag spikes, and now he's behind Psydog. He's been cheated out of position there. But it's still not over, because as we exit this corner, he's going to use a bit of overtake to try and get something done. A little bit more lag there, and the gap to side just opens up, so a bit of wasted overtake there thanks to the lag. But as we exit turn 1 here, get on the power there, exiting in 3rd gear actually. Maybe I could learn a thing or two by watching this replay. He's trying to use the overtake, but he's just lagging further and further off the back of Sai as we head through Eau Rouge. Oh, look at that. He's going to be out of slipstream range now, I guarantee it. But as we head down the Camel Straight, have a look at this. A massive lag spike there. He's all over the place, just shifting backwards on the track, and now he's moving side to side. His internet's obviously cracked up, and absolutely nothing Andrew could do about that as he spins off into the inside barrier, shifting and switching all over the track, doing the shuffle. Oh my goodness, now that was an accident. He's got engine damage, front and rear bumper damage, right hand side tyre damage, and yeah, that wasn't going anywhere fast. He's had that race ruined. So he leaves that lobby. But that's not all of the drama. I'm going to show you this as well. So this is a few seconds up the road. So I'm lapping just behind here. You can't see the gaps because this is the replay, but I'm a few seconds behind. But this is Atom coming on the back of wheel stand now. He's going to be using the slipstream and a touch of overtake in some places to slipstream up. There's the yellow flag. You can see Andrew moving in the distance. Atom moves past wheel stand during the yellow flag period, and as we head into the braking of Lake Com, there's a 3-second penalty swiftly served on a silver platter to Atom, so not good for his race there. So that's overtaking under a yellow flag, and yes, you can earn yourself a penalty for that in this game. Atom has to serve that penalty at the penalty serving zone heading up called Port Frere. Wheel stand gets back past. Atom uses some overtake to try and gain some speed back up, and then we round this corner. Oh, Atom, what's happened? So that's what's happened past Smok. Atom got himself a penalty for overtaking during yellow flag, but that was all caused by the lag from Andrew. Not Andrew's fault, because you know, your internet is honestly something completely out of your control, and we don't even know half the time if it's your actual internet or if it's actually the game connection. So there's a couple of questionable variables in there, but yeah, not ideal for Andrew when it affected Atom's race. I'm going to bank that he's faster than me and not use my overtake. But I decided not to let myself get lured by this position, and it was the right thing to do because Atom drove away. He actually had some very good pace here, and he displayed some very, very clinical driving. You know, driving so clinical you'd swear he's like an actual top split race-winning driver, which he pretty much almost is this season. But Atom moves past wheel stand. We don't waste our overtake and try and pursue him. He's just faster. I wanted to actually save this overtake, and I'm going to dump it here because I've got all of this straight. All together from La Source all the way up to Lake Com, it's about 2 kilometres. Normally in GT cars you need a slight lift for Eau Rouge Radeon depending on your tyre life and tyre compound, but in this car easy flat, so I've basically got a 2 kilometre long straight. I dump all my overtake here. I don't want to get caught behind wheel stand through the middle sector at Spa because this is all the corners. You can imagine the dirty air wash that comes off the car ahead of you, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be the one suffering. So it may look as though I've just dumped all of my overtake in one hit, but honestly it was worth it because I really needed to get that done. I knew wheel stand was a little bit off the pace compared to both myself and Atom because Atom was able to overtake him a couple of times. I was gaining on him, and I knew I needed to get that done. And as we head into Pouillon on this occasion, that gap behind's opened up to 0.7 of a second, so that's thanks to all the dirty air wash that's coming off the back of my car. Wheel stand is not able to keep close. That's pretty much how the race went for the next few laps, setting myself some consistent low 52s and 151s. You can see my lap 11 there actually is my fastest lap of the race so far, a 151.6. And that is set on lap 11, which is quite deep into my tyre life stint. So that's just a bit of a side effect of the change that's happened recently to the way the tyre wear model works. But let's move away from that chat because all of the leaders have gone into the pits at the end of lap 12. They're going to give themselves 3 laps left to do on the medium tyre, which is what Atom gave himself, actually. He gave himself 3 laps on the medium and the remainder on the soft, so perhaps I could have pitted in on the end of lap 3 there. But let's see if we can gain any positions out of this. There were a couple of people that were still yet to pit after having started ahead of me. That included Geesh at least, and I think there was another individual, but they may have just dropped down off the totem and I can't remember. We come out behind Dylan. So, you know, Dylan, how was Dylan's race going? He shuffled Emery off and then he ran wide at Puon. He re-overtook me actually and drove up ahead of me, and then I pitted in on the soft tyre and then he's pitted in off his set of soft tyres and he's now on a medium set of tyres and he's just come out ahead of me. So perhaps if I had lapped a little bit quicker on a couple of the laps, if those 152s in between the two 151s over on the right hand side of the screen, if they were also 151s, I'd perhaps be ahead of Dylan and not having to suffer through the dirty air effects through here. This could be a lot worse because I've got a step softer tyre. I can carry some extra speed through the corners. So look at this. I mean, I'm struggling to keep up in this dirty air even despite having a tyre wear advantage. I know Dylan's got to be on the medium tyres after having pitted quite late in this race. But thanks to my step softer tyres, I can remain kind of close. The gap does open up to beyond a second there, and I get some good downforce through the Flagdash chicane. But I managed to close that gap back up to about a second as we exit out onto this straight here. I've obviously got no overtake left, and I was kind of thinking at this stage, surely Dylan is going to have some overtake because I actually dumped all mine in one hit. So I was expecting Dylan to have a bit of overtake, but he doesn't appear to be using it as Seidel pits out of the lead. He'd probably come back out in the lead given his large gap that he had thanks to everyone else pitting. But as we come into the bus stop chicane on the end of lap 13, try and get a nice smooth exit, and we do actually. We get the power down quite nicely. The gap to Dylan down to 0.6 of a second. Quite a close gap actually, and with the 2 kilometre run out of La Source towards Lacombe chicane, we can probably get something done. We don't have our overtake assistance here, but we get a really good exit out of turn 1 actually, so that's going to be the tyre compound difference. I'm on my soft tyres. It's going to give me a little bit more purchase on the road on the exit of these critical traction zones. Dylan's not going to have that on the medium tyre, and you can see with the 2 kilometre run, you just lose too much speed there. He's trying to defend with a bit of late usage of overtake there, but I'm looking around the outside into Lacombe. I'm not backing out of this. This is my last opportunity I have. Round the outside at Lacombe, gets me the inside for the second portion, and I managed to complete that move with a sweep around the outside down towards the hairpin. Absolutely beautiful move and one of the moves of my career. Let's have another look at that. So we're going to be using that slipstream of Dylan heading up the Kemmel straight. He's got to defend to the inside and uses a bit of overtake to try and keep that position. He actually had really low overtake, so that explains why he wasn't using too much of it. And I just braked so late, intentionally missed that first apex to give him room. Make sure we give him room on the exit as well. There was a bit of contact on the mid parts of those corners, but I think both of us did the absolute best jobs we possibly could given the circumstances. I knew I had the tyre advantage. I knew I could push the car and try and sail it and hang it around the outside. You do have quite a bit of downforce over the car because I was kind of not directly behind Dylan there, so I used that to my advantage. Give Dylan the arrow wash through the exit of Lacombe chicane, and that is going to be me up into 4th position. One more from the T-cam here, braking as late as I possibly can into Lacombe chicane, pretty much after the 50 metre board. You can see I do miss the apex, but that's all intentional. Bit of contact on the way through, but I think that was just racing. And then we managed to get that position done absolutely beautifully, sailing down into the hairpin to absolutely cement that position. And we jump back on board for the remainder of the lap. But wow, oh my goodness, 4.4 seconds behind Atom on the back of the podium, myself in 4th, so we've got to try and keep this position the best we possibly can. That move on Dylan, man, I was absolutely beaming after that. And there was a little bit of analysis on Atom's stream, actually. Check out his Twitch link in the description. We kind of analysed it in chat, and we kind of came to the conclusion that it was a very good move. And there was actually a point during that move where I could have run him out of road within, like completely within the rules, but I'm not really the driver to want to do that. I was just happy I managed to get that position done. Obviously, yes, tyre advantage in my favour, which definitely heavily assisted that move. But the fact that this car gave me that confidence to hang it around the outside at Lacombe chicane, which is not a typical place to do so, He left me very happy with that move. But coming on to the final lap, it was crucial we got that move done actually, because we're coming to the closing stages of the race, and it's like I always say, the only time in a race where your position actually matters is when you cross the finish line. So we're doing our best to try and work towards that goal, and getting the overtakes done later in the race gives you a better chance of keeping it towards the end, because there's obviously less of the race to go. But as we exit La Source on the exit, or on the beginning of lap 15 here, we've got another minute or so worth of racing, and I do have a position to worry about. Emery 1 second behind. Not too familiar which tyre compound she is on. I haven't been following the progress of her race, but she may be on the softs. She could definitely foreseeably be on the softs. I believe she's actually on the softs, because she was just behind me when I came out of the pit, so she must have pitted early and dropped very far back. So she's probably on the softs. But now we're going to see the critical downfall of some of this aero wash through this middle sector here, because I knew this was the last lap. I knew this was my last-ditch effort to try and keep fourth, which is a very good position in this top split here today with some of the drivers we've got in here. As we head through Pouon, I do take a safe Pouon. That gap drops down to 0.6 of a second. As we head into Lafagna chicane, I've got maximum downforce, no dirty air to worry about. Look at the gap to Emery, 0.6 behind me, and it just immediately opens up, and she drops to 1.1 seconds behind me. I'm not sure whether she made a mistake or something, but that dirty air definitely wouldn't have helped. The closer you get to the car ahead of you, the stronger the dirty air effects become. So Emery's sitting about 0.6 behind me. It just proved too close to take Lafagna chicane appropriately, and she is just simply not close enough. Heading into the bus stop chicane, which is the last overtaking opportunity of the race, Sidorg and Twitchy cross the line to take P1, P2. Atom is going to cross the line to take P3. I'm going to exit the final turn with a little waggle of the tail and accelerate towards the line to take home a quite sensational fourth position. Yes! Come on! Yes! P4! Bloody hell, I'll take that. I will take that. Oh, beautiful drives by myself and Atom. Atom and Smok absolutely nailed that race. Oh, up 3 spots. Don't know if you could tell, I was pretty happy with that. I would, in any regular race, I would expect to finish behind pretty much Andrew, Simon, Twitchy, Emery, Dylan Lindgren and Atom on most occasions. I would expect to finish behind all of those people. And on that race there today, I only finished behind Sidorg, Twitchy and Atom. And you can have a look at that. A 306 point result. Is that my best score ever? It might be my best score ever. Actually, it's on par with my best score of GT7, which is the previous round of the Toyota Cup at Fuji in the Toyota Supra, where I also got 306 points. And I also have gone back to see that 306 is not actually my personal best. I got a little bit higher than that in the last FIA race in the Nations Cup back on GT Sport, where I managed to bring home a gifted victory in the Mini Coopers at around Goodwood. But yes, oh wow, what a race. I praised Atom quite a bit at the end of that, and I would have been happy had I been in his shoes. I assumed because he got the podium, 320 points, he was going to be ecstatic, but he was actually a little bit disappointed because he finished about 5 seconds off the lead, and he believes he lost more than 5 seconds by having to serve his 3-second penalty from the yellow flag, and also having to fight wheel stand a second time because wheel stand got back past Atom after he served his penalty. So I believe, and I tend to agree with Atom actually, I believe the win may have been on the cards there, given everything that happened. But yes, good result from Atom, and I'm ecstatic with my results. 300 points from pretty much not too much going wrong. Andrew did disconnect, and he probably would have finished ahead of me had he not disconnected, but I mean, it's all part of the game, and I will take that. I'll take this 306 points, and I will bank it, and I will treasure this result for the remainder of my Nations Cup season. But that's going to finish up this video today, so do hit the like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos and streams from me. Do leave a comment as well, as questions, comments, and constructive criticism, as always, very much appreciated. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.